Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rock Hill, South Carolina. We're here at the Winthrop Arena for round number 3 of the United States Disc Golf Championship. It's Tournament Central time. Brian Earhart, Nate Perkins breaking down the action before we send you out to the ground. Nate, we have an interesting lead card. Joel Freeman still on top going into round number 3. We're at the halfway point of the tournament, 2 rounds remaining. Talk about Joel. I mean, he looks solid so far. He looks comfortable on this course, and it looks like he actually can clean up some more mistakes and score even better than he has before.
Joel has a good history out here at Winthrop. If you go look at his rounds, I mean, over the past 5 attempts, I believe, that he's had over here, he's averaging over 1030, Brian. And we're going to zoom in on some of his shots from yesterday. This putt on hole 2, I mean, that's nearly the full shot right there. He has really picked up his pace, and we heard from him in his interview yesterday that he said that that's completely intentional, that he is trying to take less time in that pre-shot routine. Here he is on 6. That's actually an overstable 9 speed on that. And that's why I love Joel's game today in the wind, is because wind or not, Joel leans on the overstability. He loves to play those flexes, and it shapes up so well here at Winthrop.
Well, he's mentioned in the past that he's not necessarily a speed player. He calls himself more of a spin player. He likes to work angles. He likes to throw flex shots. And on a few holes on this course, being able to throw that low flex shot is so valuable from both the backhand and a forehand. We just earlier saw his flick that he gets to throw on the second shot of hole number 8. Hole number 6 is really solid for that flat to fade shot. His game sets up beautifully out here, and again, he's just one of the most well-rounded throwers of the disc that we have right now. It's just really, what is his short game doing, pretty much. If the putt can go in the basket, I think Joel can score just about as well as anybody all the time. With that said, we did talk to Joel yesterday, like Perkins said. Let's take another listen to that interview.
I've got a great history here, so that's awesome. I'm thankful for that. Yeah, it seems to fit my style, and I'm a math guy, you know what I mean, which can be a weakness and a strength. And so I guess on this course, it seems to be a strength because I know my game, I know my misses, I know the statistics of like what I'm expecting to happen. But to answer your question more directly, super nervous, of course, admittedly, and yeah, just super thankful to be here and just excited to see it unfold. I've played enough events and I've played in enough scenarios to, I don't necessarily think it's like important on the mental side of the game to not be nervous. I think it's important to see yourself succeed through the nerves, you know what I mean? Like in the midst of the nerves. And so, yeah, I mean, hole 1, it was like 4 inches low from being a birdie. Hole 2 was able to jam the putt. Hole 3, you know, threw the shots how I wanted, but that thumber roller it's such a technical shot, so it just didn't quite react how I wanted.
Now, Brian, when a lot of people look at Joel's form, they wouldn't necessarily say that it's a typical form for someone at the highest level. From my perspective, it kind of looks like Joel turns away from the target a little earlier than other people. What do you feel like that says about his setup?
Well, we've seen time and time again, some of the best players in the world don't always follow every single fundamental rule, and you're right. I think fundamentals say you should keep your shoulders square to the target until that final step when you begin to turn. But Joel's a flex player. He's a very similar player to like a Gannon Buhr and a Ricky Wysocki, and you can break a few rules if you're throwing the flex shot because you are leaning into the disc at the end of the day. You're trying to get those overstable discs nose down and turning right out of the hand. And if you have perfect, hit point and perfect spin, that overstable disc is going to snap out of its flight really quick. So Joel is just putting a lot of force into the disc, and it doesn't quite matter about having all of the perfect fundamentals there. So Joel is doing everything that he can, and when you're a flex player like him, release point is the most important thing. With that said, Kyle Klein is one of those players who does throw kind of more of that traditional style, Nate, and he is in second place chasing down Joel Freeman. It's kind of interesting to have kind of 2 different backhand style throwers, Kyle being more of a hyzer flip style.
Yeah, Kyle definitely is someone that you would model your swing after. He's such a little guy, doesn't have a lot of muscle on the frame, Brian, and just has so much lag in the throw. It's more of that modern style disc golf throw where, it's all in the hips and that late lag. I mean, when he really gets things rolling, he Here he is, deep in circle 2, Brian, on hole number 4. We talked about his putt yesterday. You kind of broke it down for me that it's a little bit more of a pitch than I had thought. I've always thought of Kyle Klein as kind of a spin putter, but he when he's releasing that putt, it's a little bit more palm to the sky.
Yeah, it's definitely low to high. I mean, you watch the release, and sometimes he even breaks his arm, and it kind of like follows through above his shoulders. And I think that's the telltale sign of someone who is kind of a push putter. Yeah, his final release is a little bit more like a Chandler Fry, where it does kind of have a little spin out of the hand, but he's still one of the best push putters. Look at this putt here, Nate.
Brian, I went back and looked. That's through the branch. That's through a slot that is barely bigger than the disc. I think he even surprised himself on that one. And the big difference here, Joel going massive flex with something overstable. Kyle's shot a little flippier and just drags it over on that hyzer flip. I don't necessarily think one is harder than the other, but just a completely different style. They both circle 1 for eagle. Kyle actually went on to miss that circle 1 putt from 25 feet and lose a stroke to Joel. But here he is, forehand lag on 14, commits to the width.
That's a beautiful shot, and it looks like a stock hyzer, but it's a coin toss when you hit the ground. You might roll out of bounds left because you're coming into that slope with such angle. It's a lot harder of a hyzer than it looks. With that, we did also talk to Kyle after his 9 under par effort yesterday. Let's take a listen.
I mean, 2 years ago, when you went to the playoff with Paul McBeth, like when you come up to the course, do you think about those moments that led you to that playoff with Paul?
I more so 2 moments, the putt on 18 that I missed to force it to 2 with 2 to go, and then just the drive on hole 1 in the playoff. Other than that, it's more of a groove thing, and there's no moment that from that tournament outside of those 2 that I think back and I'm trying to dwell on,
Well, talk about the round today. How'd you feel about your performance? I walked around with you. It looked great. Any key moments that you'd like to have back?
Definitely my second shot on hole 12 that I just threw a little bit long, forced me to. It was difference between probably a birdie and a double bogey. So,
well, talk about the difficulty of that hole, because I was standing right behind you. It looked like a clean shot. Did you feel like you threw it too long, or did you just get some bad ground play?
It felt like it was too long, but then it kind of started stalling, so then I thought it was all right. And I think I just hit too much on that back slope on the backside and too much angle and just popped out the back.
Well, you rallied there at the end. You're showing everybody that you can close at this event, and anything you're going to change up for round 3?
Maybe my shot selection on hole 2. I've thrown that outside turnover and early release twice and have not had success with that, so I might be switching to that inside low shot.
Well, right behind Kyle Klein and Joel Freeman is potentially the talk of the tournament so far. Sullivan Tipton, just 2 strokes out of the lead going into round number 3. Nate, I remember the excitement in the disc golf community when players like Silver Lott, players like Albert Tom first came over from Europe and showcased the absolute monstrous forehand power to rival Eagle McMahon. And I'm starting to feel that way about Sullivan. Talk about what you're seeing.
I'm all in on the man from Alabama, Sullivan Tipton. The delivery, it's all up front. There's no reach back. It's so different from Eagle McMahon. Crystal Raptor here on number 7. Looked like it was going to hit the bamboo, Brian. Skips up. Probably the only skip ace ever on 7. Look at the big smile. I mean, just such a joyful energy here. Such a great attitude he had after the misfortune there on 6. And then here he goes. Straddle, jump putt, finds the pole. That's so aggressive there on the 8th for the birdie. This was the shot of the day, though, for me. Not this approach, but the shot to get him there, Brian. Joel Freeman goes flex 12 speed to get to that spot. That's 540 feet down the pad. Sully matches that with a forehand. When players are coming up to me going, hey, did you hear about that shot? Did you see that shot? Like, what do you think? Like, was that just luck? No, the man has the speed. He also is throwing something slightly understable there on 12 to get to that distance. That shows me speed and just understanding of his equipment. I'm all in on Sullivan Tipton. Didn't start great yesterday and just finished like a champion.
He's got a versatile sidearm too. Not only can he throw the power sidearm, he can shape I mean, look how far up 18 he gets, but he can throw hyzer flip. He's got the touch backhand as well. Honestly, reminds me of a right-handed version of Chris Clemens.
Chris Clemens. Love
Beautiful
that.
touch shaping backhand. Forehand is where he really shines. We did talk to Sullivan after a wonderful round yesterday, getting the ace on 7. Let's take a listen.
What was it like to play on your first lead card at a PDGA major?
It was unreal. Thinking about it yesterday, I was like, just go out there, have fun. I was trying not to be nervous, and then as soon as I hop on hole 1, it was like everything just hit me. I was like, whoa, like playing on. It hit me right then. Started being a little nervous, but then caught up a little bit and finished pretty solid. Yeah, hole 7, I just got my Crystal Raptor out, something I'm super comfortable with. Just kept it low the whole way, threw it pretty good, and it skipped up and went in the basket. It's crazy. Unreal.
Unbelievable. What was the energy like with the crowd right behind you, right next to you? What's that feeling
Yeah,
like?
it was something that was just like, again, like unreal, like just how loud they were. And like in my head, I can't really like remember the moment super well because it was so clogged up with emotions and just excitement that, but looking back at the videos, I was like, wow, that was sick.
Well, Nate, we have another player rounding out the lead card today, playing up to the lead card, and it's a player you know all too well from the Austin area, Bradley Williams. When we're talking about fundamentals, Nate, this guy pretty much has written the book. I mean, I think a lot of people have tried to copy the way he throws the backhand.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little story about Bradley Williams. When I first met him in 2014, he could mimic any player. He said, "You want me to do Dave Felberg?" And he did it. He did the little straight arm pump fake. And then at the time, he chose to mimic Paul Macbeth. He mimicked his swing on the tee pad. He mimicked his pre-shot routine on the putt. He mimicked the putt delivery. But now, Bradley Williams is his own player. I like to call him Dr. Bradley Williams. He's so smooth, and he's just having a good time. He's a different player than he was years ago. He's just cracking jokes all the time. He's looking out for the players around him, cheers everybody on. He loves the game. It's great to see him out here on tour. We know he's capable of winning out on the tour. Is he capable of winning a major, Brian?
I mean, he found that unconscious mode, so to speak, at the Preserve Championships when he took down that title. He said it felt like someone was carrying him through that final round, and he played brilliantly. I think when you finally tap into that at the highest level, we saw Matty O just recently do that at Maple Hill. I think now you know you can do it, and at least you've tasted it. At least you've been there now. I think he can easily take down this title. I think he can easily be a U.S. champion. When you talk about him mimicking Paul Macbeth, I find it interesting. He reminds me of like a hybrid of Paul Macbeth and like Barry Schultz, one of the best touch players of all time. I mean, he just has an incredible swing, incredibly replicatable. He's a brilliant shot shaper. And out here on this course, you have to get a little creative in certain spots. You're not going to have these stock shots that everybody watching seems to think you have every single time. There are moments where you have to be heroic and you have to be resourceful, and Bradley certainly has the experience to do that.
Well, I wanted to add one more thing. It's a great hit on Barry Schultz there, because when Bradley started playing the game, he was watching DVDs of Ken Climo and Barry Schultz. And his first year on tour, 2007, and he made a lead card appearance at the World Championships with Barry Schultz. And then 2009 gets top 10 at Worlds. That's 14 years ago, Brian. So the man's been playing at a high level for a really long time, no doubt. He's a veteran. Great to see him on this lead card. And he's got more experience than anyone else on this card, probably combined.
We did talk to Brad after his round that got him on the lead card today. Let's have a listen.
We started off with some good putts. Drives looked pretty controlled and good on the first 6-7 holes. And then we went through a patch of slowdowns and, a little bit of unlucky parts here. And then I couldn't focus for a bit. Went through a long stretch, 4 holes, where I just could not focus on anything. And I tried to rally my focus on 16, put a good drive in bounds, barely left, and then hit like a 42 footer. And then I played really risky on 17 to go for the dunk. And it was right under the bucket, and I got a birdie. And then 18, as long as I played in my spots, it's not too hard of a hole for me at the moment. I definitely have 1 and 2 like with respectable shots, but they're usually, so I've made circle 2 putts both days now. I've gone 2 for 2, but they've been pretty long putts, that's not, you can't just ask, just hit circle 2s to start the day, but it's been happening. Yeah, and then 4 takes a good shot, and I hit another circle 2, circle edge putt on 4, so I could be par through 4 just like anyone else. I like to acknowledge like how I'm feeling. Like I don't have focus. I'm getting warm, I'm getting hot. I'm starting to like rush. Let's slow down, go over the basics. Trust your shots, and I just try to repeat sort of a positive energy to myself. And that's only the best thing you can do, really, is trying to get into a little bit more positive mindset. Sometimes it helps to just straight talk to someone else and talk someone else up. Say, hey, man, you've been looking really good. Sometimes sharing some positive energy can help you too.
Well, we also have some players on the chase card that are not too far off, especially with 2 rounds still remaining. We will talk those chase card competitors on the other side of this commercial break here on the Disc Golf Network.
The Toro is really good for short backhand and forehanded approaches. I really love it when the wind picks up a little. I can trust it to still fade towards the basket. Developing the Toro with Dave, I was looking for a low profile, slow disc that was good for forehand and backhand approaches. And through several iterations, we finally landed on this disc. You know, having my name on it, it's just, you know, the cherry on top.
Your rating is one of the most valuable things you get with a membership. This gives you accurate numbers to track how well you've been doing and your overall improvement in the game. You also get a member number when you register with the PDGA. Your PDGA number is a stamp for when you got involved in the sport. It's a badge of pride for players and a part of your disc golf identity. Get your number today. Visit pdga.com/join.
Watch the United States Disc Golf Championship and more upcoming live pro disc golf events here on the Disc Golf Network. Use the code USDGCTC, all one word, at checkout for 20% off your first month subscription. Scan the QR code or hit the link in the description below to subscribe today and wrap up this exciting 2023 disc golf season. But before we wrap up the season, we have to wrap up the USDGC. We have chase card competitors gunning for the top. Let's take a listen to every single one of them after their rounds yesterday.
We saw that you handled the front 9 pretty well, but the back 9 is where it looked like the putter got going, and it feels like you kind of followed up what you did yesterday on the back 9. Is there anything different that's back there?
Yeah, it's more scoreable for my game. There's a couple shots out there that I'm comfortable with. The front 9, there's just a couple holes that I personally don't like at all, and I'm just having a hard time scoring on them. There's just some of the shots early in the round are just too aggressive for how early in the round it is. You know, if I have to make a late push to get to a score I'd like on the back 9, I will, and that's why I'm attacking on the back here a little bit more, I guess. Yeah, I was getting confident off the tee, and I've always said it before, when I do get confident off the tee, the putter starts to really go in. And I actually have 4 putters in my bag right now, and the pair I was using was not working on the front, and I switched over to one that's just a little bit less used, is a little more stable, and that one was the one that started to go in, so just a little putter change mid-round, and it started to work.
The 10 under can you improve on that, basically?
Obviously, I'd love to. This might be the best round of my tournament. I hope not. Obviously, I want to come out tomorrow and shoot the same consistency, but no, 10 under's insane out here, and I'm glad I could do it.
Yeah, well, yesterday I felt like I was throwing really well, and then 10, 11, 12, the classic holes there, it got me. I shot 3 over on them. So kind of my goal for today was to keep the good vibes going, and just those 3 holes were like my attack point, and I managed to go birdie, birdie, birdie. So I improved 6 strokes on just those 3 holes, and the rest, I lost 2 strokes in the rest of the holes. So I felt like I played better yesterday without my little slip-ups. But no, 9 down is my best round ever out here. About 40 rounds I've played here, I've never shot 9 down, which is kind of crazy. But I'm pretty stoked with that back 9. It was very clean, and
sometimes it's an easy course if things just don't go wrong, and that's how it felt in the back. I mean, this place is special. It's been 25 years, and a lot of really cool things have happened here for disc golf. They put on a great show, and everyone, I think it's the biggest staff and volunteers we have all year. It's just really impressive, the whole thing, and it makes us feel like extra special to be out here. It's a beautiful place and perfect weather. It's hard to find something to complain about, even though on the course, sometimes with rollaways and being OB by a couple inches. Yeah. This place is just something special, but for me personally, I play best when I go in with low expectations and I'm not the pump-up guy. I'm the guy that is more mellow.
Chris, you shot a 53 today, 11 under par, 9 strokes better than yesterday. What are your first impressions after that?
It was kind of my game plan. I kind of show up here early every year, maybe a week and a half early. Don't play any other tournaments and just practice this course. So I kind of have a good game plan for this course, and everything kind of worked out in my favor today. That's what I've kind of learned over the years, is throwing to the big parts of the green, big parts of the fairway, and sometimes you got to make some long putts. And if they're for birdie and you miss, you get a par, and that's okay out here. You know, you don't want to take a double bogey. I play pretty safe out here. You know, you have to know when to risk and when to go for it. You know, the first day on the beach hole, I laid up. Today I went for it because I was feeling better, and so the wind dictates a lot, and you just have to play smart and stick to your game plan. So hopefully I can put some good rounds together tomorrow and Sunday, and so we'll see what happens.
Well, Nate, I want to talk about the setting here at Winthrop before we talk about these chase card competitors. Not only is it a wonderful place for the players, and they come back year after year with open eyes, even though the course has barely changed, the spectators have a wonderful time here too. The vendor village is giant. There's a course for the spectators to come out and play as they're taking a break from watching the action. I mean, Nate, talk about what you've seen so far just overall out here.
Well, I'll tell you, the dream of Steve Dodge was to travel around the country and have basically a festival experience for the fans synced up with a disc golf tournament. We have that out on the tour, but this event seems to elevate that year after year, pardon me. The vendor village is something else over there. I mean, they've got the big screens over there underneath the shade. You can sit, you can get food, you can get drinks, you can watch us blab over here on Tournament Central. You can watch the broadcast the whole time, and there's music immediately following the live round. And it's a good band. Big Something's playing. They're headlining at a festival that I'm going to later in the month. Like, it's great music. The atmosphere here seems to be unmatched as far as the fan experience goes. And I think the reason why the draw is so big to come is not just the experience there, but it's the familiarity with Winthrop. It's because they've seen their favorite players attempt this course year and year again. And they've seen their favorite players fail. Like, what do you think it is, Brian, about the actual course here that we don't see a lot of the big names? We're missing so many guys here on this lead card, this chase card, that we're missing heavy hitters. We're missing a lot of world champions, major champions. What is it about Winthrop?
I think if it's your week out here. I think, yes, the best players in the world are going to compete out here, and some of them are not going to be towards the top, and some of them are. That's just how tournament golf works. But if you have a lapse in focus even the tiniest bit out here, there's no course management on a lot of these holes. If you're out of bounds and you throw a bad shot and you know it's a bad shot, you're likely going to get punished. You're not going to get some sort of fluky kick right back in the middle of the fairway. I mean, it happens out here in a few holes, but a lot of the times on some of the tougher holes, you're not going to get away with something that you knew was not good. So right now, the guys at the top, this is their week. They are playing phenomenal golf. They look comfortable, but to do it over 4 rounds is a completely different beast. We might see those champions rise to the top as we see some of these newer players start to falter and not manage the expectations as they change. It's just a wonderful place, Nate. Ken Climo was sitting on a trifold stool just in the middle of the crowd, and people were tapping him on the shoulder saying hi. And there's so many players just like him, just scattered about wanting to take in the action for themselves. With that said, a man who has no time to take in the action, he's about to make the action, is Adam Hammes. Nate, he's got that fiery attitude that can carry him to some incredible heights. Do you think his distaste for some of the holes in the front 9 is going to hold him back, or do you think he's going to be able to detach from that?
I've always thought that it's interesting how often we hear professional disc golfers share their opinion about the holes, myself included. I mean, we just can't help it. We're trying to grow this whole thing together. You don't really hear that on the PGA Tour. Hey, I don't like this hole. I don't like how this green sets up. But in disc golf, we hear that a lot, and it's very difficult to separate the player from, you know, the person with the opinion outside the game. I think we've seen that bite players in the past where they talk about a hole and then it gives them trouble, you know, because I feel like we never hear a Kristen Tatar really talk about whether or not she likes the hole. We don't even hear her talk about numbers. So Adam has a bit different approach to it, but I have to agree with you. He has that killer instinct, and he is well aware that you don't have to have all this momentum to just show up and win a tournament. I mean, I don't think anybody picked him to win that Elite Plus in Portland. He showed up. He had the best throwing tournament of his career, and he was dominant. And he showed up in pressure against Gossage in the final few holes. So he's not really picked to win this event coming into it. We weren't talking about it. We weren't keying in on his game or anything, but he's here. He shot his first double-digit round ever at Winthrop yesterday, and he's a killer. He can make it happen.
I don't think you're ever talking about him as the favorite to win, but he's won more events on the Disc Golf Pro Tour than a lot of the people out here he's competing against. So, no, not a surprise to see him at the top at all. Can he hold it together for 2 more rounds? With that said, Simon Lizotte's also on this lead card, or on this chase card, and he's playing great golf. Nate, you said this course has kind of given him some troubles in the past, and he was kind of surprised at how good he's been shooting. What is he going to have to do to keep this momentum going for the next couple of days?
I mean, he just has to treat it like he's practicing with Casey White back home in Massachusetts. I mean, the pressure has gotten to him here in the past. There's no question about it. Every time we've seen him on camera at Winthrop, he shot over par. He has not performed here great. He's missed the cash here in the past. I don't even believe he's had a top 10 finish at Winthrop. So for him to be 14 under par through 2 rounds, I think it's a breath of fresh air for him. He's relieved to be in this position, but Simon has everything that it takes. There's no question, one of the most talented throwers of the disc that we've seen in years, and can't wait to see how he fights the wind today.
Well, the wind is up to 20 miles an hour. It's going to be an exciting third day here at Winthrop. We're going to wrap things up at Tournament Central. Brian Earhart, Nate Perkins. We'll see you out there, folks. Bye-bye.
Let's go!
This almost looks better. Oh my!
PDGA Event Support Helpline.
Hey, I was wondering if I could add some rules to my tournament to make it a little unique.
Sure. You just need a waiver from the Director of Event Support.
Okay, great. An island green?
Shouldn't be a problem.
And elevated baskets?
Yeah, we get those all the time.
Oh, and forehands only?
Sarah, we've been over this.
Sorry. I mean, but I don't see why we can't try it. I mean, everyone loves forehands. Like, you can go right, you can go left, you can throw straight, you can throw high, you can throw low.